Now, to better understand the discussion we did in the last episode about block advantage and taking turns, let's consider a timeline view of when a move connects with a blocking opponent. For our demonstration, we will be using Sub-Zero's down 1, which is the fastest move in the game, having a startup of 6 frames. It has 2 active frames, 18 recovery frames, and a block advantage that is -6, meaning that if correctly blocked, it will enable the defender to recover 6 frames earlier than the attacker. In other words, if we do the math, we find that the block stun duration is 18 minus 6 equals 12 frames after the active frame of the move connects with the defender. Let's consider a few scenarios to see the effects of follow-up attacks by each player after an attack is blocked by the defender. In the first scenario, let's say the defender Shao Kahn, after blocking a negative move, takes his turn and frame perfectly performs his on down 1, which has a 7 frame startup. Frame perfect execution means that a follow-up move is executed at the first possible moment a player is out of the recovery or block stun state. Now, Shao Kahn had a frame advantage of 6 frames by blocking Sub-Zero's down 1. He spends those 6 frames of advantage to execute his 7 frame startup move effectively in just 1 frame relative to when Sub-Zero gets out of the recovery phase. We can make such calculations simply by adding a negative block advantage of the attacker's move to the startup frames of defender's follow-up move. So 7 minus 6 equals 1. Now, in order to beat the down 1 of Shao Kahn, Sub-Zero needs a 1 frame startup move, which isn't possible. So Sub-Zero is left with just one option, and that is to block and respect Shao Kahn's turn. Now let's consider another scenario and say Sub-Zero decides not to respect Shao Kahn's turn and tries to mash another down 1. Relative to when Shao Kahn is out of block stun, in order to do the follow-up down 1, Sub-Zero first has to suffer the 6 frames of block disadvantage and then an additional 6 frames of startup for his down 1 move. This will effectively make the startup of a follow-up down 1 to be 6 plus 6 equals 12 frames. So Shao Kahn's effective 1 frame down 1 in the previous scenario will beat and counter an effective 12 frame follow-up mashed down 1 of Sub-Zero, even though it is the fastest move in the game. So it is advised to always respect the turn of your opponent and avoid mashing in such a situation. The same is applicable to any attack which Sub-Zero wants to use, so he's left with no option but to block and respect Shao Kahn's turn. Now in the last scenario, let's say Shao Kahn decides to take his turn now by using a slower move, that is a forward 2 having a startup of 21 frames. He uses the 6 frames of advantage to effectively make forward to a 15 frame move. Now if Sub-Zero was to mash another down 1, which we know comes out in 12 frames, it would definitely beat the 15 frame forward 2 of Shao Kahn. Now it was not Sub-Zero's turn, but he still attacked and managed to hit Shao Kahn. This is called Abare in fighting game terms, which means to attack when you are negative. In our case, Sub-Zero was able to hit and counter Shao Kahn because Shao Kahn used quite a slow move. So deciding what move to use once it's your turn is also very important. These 3 scenarios provide us with the baseline to apply this concept of turns and being negative on block to almost any similar situation. That's it for today's episode. In the next one, we will be looking at the pushback on block, which is a very important concept which has to be taken into consideration along with the frame data. If you like my channel, be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done already, leave a like and your feedback in the comments section. Till next time, it is Mini Ninja signing out.